Your almond milk come from?
Almond Breeze starts here with our almond trees in our Blue Diamond Orchard in California. My parents' job is to look after them.
And it's my job to test the product.
The best almonds make the best almond milk. Blue Diamond Almond Breeze.
Terrible time in America.
You forget I'm in America.
Rita Moreno became the first Latina woman to win an Oscar for her role as Anita in 1961's West Side Story. You know, Rita's been a champion for diversity for decades, and she had plenty to say about the push for racial equality in this country.
I believe it's Maya Angelou who said, when you know better, you do better.
I am thrilled to damn pieces because I see a lot of non-black faces.
Happening now.
We're hearing defund the police, but today we talk with a woman who says repeal two state laws that she believes may help overly protect police officers.
Capitol Hill took steps toward police reform this week, but anything they pass needs the president's signature to become law. I'm Karen Kaith at the White House with the latest on that coming up.
We're headed into the upcoming weekend, and it's been a comfortable stretch of weather. I'll let you know if that's going to last and see if there's any chance of rain coming right up.
Have you ever tried grilled kale? Coming up, some recommendations to upgrade your grill and your game.
And new cases of coronavirus sent the stock market tumbling yesterday. What the federal government is planning to try to keep workers afloat in the middle of this pandemic. The News at 5 starts right now.
And first at 5, one day after San Antonio Metro Health Director Don Emmerich said Bexar County is entering its second wave now of COVID-19, County Judge Nelson Wolff taking his concerns straight to Governor Greg Abbott's office.
Judge Wolff is asking the governor to issue a new executive order to allow local jurisdictions to determine whether face coverings are appropriate for their individual communities. In that letter, Judge Wolff says he disagrees with the governor's decision to limit local authorities from imposing penalties on people who do not wear face coverings. It goes on to say by not requiring them, fewer people are wearing them, and the rate of infection is increasing.
Wolff says in order to reopen successfully, mandatory health requirements must be in place, including wearing face coverings within 6 feet of others. This is a developing story this afternoon, and we'll provide updates as new information comes in.
Standing in solidarity and shattering stereotypes. That is the mission of one group today as they march from one courthouse to another.
A group called We Are Black Men, dressed in full suits. They've begun marching along East Cesar Chavez just now. Stephen Cavazos is there live. And Stephen, what is the crowd looking like out there?
Steve, Myra, you can see here outside the federal courthouse, we have a handful of people that have shown up here. Now, we're told that men of different generations will be marching together here along East Cesar Chavez. Now, we're told that the goal is to break any misconceptions society may have on men of color and how they protest. And they're doing this, as you can see, suited up. Now, we're told this is a peaceful march that will end at Market Street. One man that we spoke to says that men of color have often been portrayed as uneducated, but he hopes today's march will break that narrative.
It's just a stereotype that's been around for ages, and we just want to come together here in San Antonio. We're just here to, again, shatter those stereotypes.
Now, again, we're seeing a small group here outside the federal courthouse, but we are told that a little more than 50 people will likely show up for this march. We are expecting to have speakers will be giving testimonies as well. We'll have more on this later tonight. Back to you.
Thank you, Stephen. As some call to defund the police, others call to repeal laws they think overly protect officers. At issue, specifically, chapters 143 and 174 of the Local Government Code, which both factor into how police officers are disciplined.
Garrett Berger talked with a San Antonio mother turned activist who says both laws have got to go.
As soon as they come off, I'm going to beat your That's what I'm going to do.
Earlier this year, the KSAT defenders found 2/3 of fired San Antonio police officers won their jobs back through appeals. It was that investigation, Broken Blue, that got Ogioma Martin interested.
I could say the officer has to do certain things. I could say the officer should take away the right to do that. But then they go into arbitration.
Martin is keyed in on 2 chapters of state law she thinks are the issue and has made them the focus of her Fix SAPD campaign. Chapter 174 gives police and firefighters the power to collectively bargain and get a union contract. Chapter 143, known as civil service, deals with procedures like hiring, promotions, and how officers are disciplined. and it's the basis upon which the disciplinary procedures in that union contract are built. Martin wants both gone because she and others believe they overly protect officers under investigation for misconduct.
We need to have a way to rebuild our police department, rebuild it for justice, rebuild it for fairness for each and every one of us.
Local voters could repeal the 2 chapters, so they would no longer apply in San Antonio. But they need to petition to get the issues onto a ballot. Martin is still working on crafting the petitions, so there are no signatures so far.
If both chapters are repealed, the city attorney's office says police officers will be on similar ground as other city employees. However, the police union president says first, their current contract would run into September 2029 because it has an 8-year evergreen clause.
Until that runs out, well, then that's when it's going to be pragmatic for our officers and for the city.
Union President Mike Kelly says without the pay and benefits in the union contract, the department would be decimated.
I don't even want to think about what a terrible place it would be for this town, what kind of workforce it would have.
As for changing what's in the contract instead, Kelly says it's all a negotiation. Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
We do know that a repeal would also affect San Antonio firefighters. We reached out to the fire union, but a reaction we haven't heard back, actually, as of airtime. And a reminder that the 1-hour investigative series Broken Blue will re-air tonight at 7 o'clock.
We have new details about a San Antonio firefighter who was fired after posting derogatory comments on social media.
Human Resources for the city confirming Lauren Liska, a 10-year veteran with SAFD, was fired yesterday. The San Antonio Fire Department has not identified her, but multiple sources tell us she's accused of posting a racially derogatory comment and picture online and posting threatening comments regarding recent protests.
In a statement, the city and fire department say posts like Liska's are unacceptable, reprehensible, and will not be tolerated. Liska had been with the San Antonio Fire Department since 2009. 2 people in the hospital following a crash on I-10 near Wurzbach on the northwest side. Witnesses told police it seemed the SUV driver missed the exit and crossed 4 lanes of traffic. That SUV then got in front of an 18-wheeler which T-boned that SUV. Both drivers were sent to University Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. No other cars were involved in this crash.
They broke into a local gun shop and stole 20 handguns. Now the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives offering a reward to help track these men down. It happened yesterday morning at Ranger Firearms on Austin Highway. Investigators say the suspects took off in a tan Chevy pickup. They're trying to recover the stolen guns before they're used in any violent criminal activity. If you have any information on who these people may be, contact the ATF at 1-888-ATF-TIPS or email atftips@atf.gov. They're offering up to $5,000 for information that leads to an arrest. After weeks of protests against racial inequality and police brutality, Congress is now responding.
They are taking the first steps toward changing the nation's policing. Karen Kafa joins us live from Washington to explain.
Yeah, Ursula and Steve, last weekend I was on the other side of this White House perimeter talking to protesters who seemed a little bit more hopeful last weekend that maybe things had turned a corner and change could be on the way. Well, this week we have seen both parties in both chambers start to talk about their proposals for police reform, and President Trump says an executive order is in the works here at the White House. Calls for police reform around the country appear to be heard on Capitol Hill.
I am begging you to speak up. I am begging you to be a part of solving the problems.
Hopefully, we can have both parties working together to actually accomplish something here.
The Congressional Black Caucus took the lead on a reform proposal unveiled by House Democrats Monday.
The power of this movement will help move Congress to act.
Republican Tim Scott of South Carolina planning to introduce a bill in the Senate within days.
Let's see if we can actually get a result and make our streets safer for our law enforcement officers and the communities that they serve.
The parties find common ground in ideas like sharing records of law enforcement officers across states and police forces that better reflect the communities they serve. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy hinted at some compromise with Democrats, backing, for example, a proposed ban on police chokeholds.
And I think there's a lot of concepts that we agree upon.
But for the most part, Republicans diverge from Democrats' call for federal policing standards, instead advocating incentives for adopting best practices.
Neither party answering activist calls to defund the police, cutting funding to forces to put the money into social services. Any legislation passed needs President Trump's signature to become law. In Dallas Thursday, he confirmed an executive order in the works at the White House on policing standards for use of force, including de-escalation tactics.
We're going to make sure that our police are well trained, perfectly trained, they have the best equipment.
And some parts of the country not waiting for Washington today. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed 4 police reform bills into law in that state, including one that bans the use of police chokeholds. That is a move that we have seen from a number of cities across the country in recent days, including Houston, Denver, and Minneapolis. Myra and Steve, back over to you.
Karen Kafa live in Washington. Thank you.
We are still about 2 weeks away from the start of early voting in the July runoff election, but the deadline to register is coming up. If you still need to register to vote, you have until Monday, June 15th.
If you're not sure if you're already registered, you can check your status through our website. We also have information on how to get an application and what needs to be done before Monday's deadline. Just go to ksat.com/vote2020. Early voting begins June 29th. Then Election Day is July 14th.
And what a day again. Nothing but sunshine out there. Really not a whole lot of haze compared to what we've seen in days and especially weeks past. Overall, another beautiful day. And we started out at 63 degrees here in San Antonio. What a start to the day. Again, well below average. Take a look at those lows, especially up in the hill country. Kerrville, 52, along with Junction. That was earlier this morning. And Fredericksburg at 54. That was their morning low temperature. So we felt the unseasonably cool air. Right now, for the most part, we're in the 90s. 97 Del Rio and Warren's backyard. We're 90 in Utopia. Canyon Lake checking in at 91. Uneventful this evening. Clear, comfortable, not humid, and a very gentle breeze. We'll talk more about the weekend and see if there's any shot at rain coming right up.
Thank you, Adam. The coronavirus pandemic far from over, and the stock market is reacting, along with the highest levels of our government, in order to keep working Americans afloat. ABC's Zareen Shah has the story.
All eyes on the stock market Friday after the market tumbled 1,800 points yesterday, the biggest drop since March when the pandemic hit. Friday, the Dow closed up almost 2%, but it still had its biggest weekly loss since March. The latest indicator, America's economy is not close to rebounding. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said just this week, recovery will take some time.
I think we have to be honest that it's a long road. It's depending on how you count it, well more than 20 million people displaced in the labor market.
But now signs are emerging the pandemic still has long ways to go. As the U.S. passes 113,000 coronavirus deaths, a top Harvard health official now warning that we could be totaling 200,000 by September.
If we don't act, the future is very grim.
Right now, 20 states and Puerto Rico all seeing cases rise. One of those states is Texas, where an official sounded this alarm.
We may be approaching the precipice of a disaster.
That health disaster appearing to extend to the economy. Airline and cruise companies took the biggest hit yesterday, and at least 21 million Americans unemployed. Just this week, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin saying a fourth relief package will be needed.
I definitely think we are going to need another bipartisan legislation to put more money into the economy.
The Fed chair says officials estimate the economy will shrink by over 6% this year, but they're more hopeful about next year, estimating it will expand by 5% in 2021. Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Summer is officially almost here, so it might be time to crank up the heat on your grill. Up next, whether meat or veggies are your go-to grilling items, a look at which grill model might be right for you. New at 5, if the stay-home dinner menu's gotten a little bit repetitive lately, it's time to fire up the grill. It might also be time to fire up your imagination. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz with some ways to up your game and which grills get thumbs up from the experts.
In Texas, it's always time to get your grill on. But to expand your healthy horizons, try going beyond the burgers and chicken. Peppers, onions, eggplant, and zucchini are great for grilling. You can also grill leafy greens like romaine for a hearty take on a Caesar salad. Or toss kale with a little olive oil and salt and grill for a few minutes for crispy kale chips. If your grill has seen better days, it may just be time to treat yourself to an upgrade. Home centers like Home Depot and Lowe's are open, but if you want to keep a distance,
make sure to check grill inventory online and choose curbside pickup or delivery instead of going to the store to buy.
This Even Embers gas grill is a CR Best Buy for about $400. It got excellent ratings for preheating and cooking evenly. CR also recommends this Next Grill Deluxe at Home Depot for about $500. Both are mid-sized gas grills.
Some people swear by the flavor of food cooked over a charcoal grill, and they're also less expensive than gas.
So if charcoal is your fuel of choice, CR recommends this Weber Kettle Grill for $165. Happy grilling. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
And now I'm hungry.
There you have it.
Yep. All right, 90 degrees. Not a bad day, though.
No. But now I'm looking forward to tomorrow when I'm waking up.
Because you're going to grill.
Yeah. Smoking some meat. Got it all ready today. Got to get the meat ready tonight. It's going to be good. Going to make some brisket tacos, too. It'll be fun. All right, so let's talk about our weather here. The low humidity, it's going to last all the way through the weekend, and that's going to lead to some relatively cool mornings. I mean, we've been below average the past several mornings. 50s in the hill country earlier today, some lower 50s. Well, it's still relatively cool in the mornings through the weekend. Sunny and clear all weekend long. I want to talk about something we haven't touched on in a while. It's starting to be that time of year. African dust. Okay, there's nothing overhead right now, but you get out over the Atlantic and you can see this new big plume of African dust that's starting to move our way. And the indications are with the models that we could see some trace amounts in our sky by the end of next week and into next weekend. It's even hard to see here, but you see there's that little coloring. Some minor amounts of dust in the sky again by about Thursday, Friday, and into next weekend. So that's something. Right now, actually a fairly clear sky, not even a whole lot of haze out there. 90 degrees the current reading. Our high today was 93, and that's just about average for this time of year. Here's the key though, dew point of 51. So when you calculate the heat index, it feels like 87. Whereas the air temperature's at 90. Sometimes, that lack of humidity, it'll work in our favor. So Canyon Lake's at 88, New Braunfels 93, 90 at Stinson, Randolph 89 degrees. For the most part, when you average it out, we're hovering right around 90. And then you get farther to the west and south of town where it's usually warmer, and Del Rio at 98, Carrizo Springs 93, and Cotulla 95. So not all that abnormal for this time of year temperature-wise. Dew points are down, and this has been a long stretch, an abnormally long stretch of lack of humidity because our wind is just not shifting around to the typical southeasterly direction with that stout wind off the Gulf of Mexico. We still have this just lazy east-northeasterly wind out there, and it doesn't increase the humidity like our usual southeasterly breeze, and it's not going to anytime soon. So tomorrow morning with that lack of humidity, it's going to translate to lows for the most part in the mid-60s. You get up into the hill country, probably closer to 60 degrees around sunrise. And then, just like today, we'll make it into the lower 90s for highs, but probably not even hit 90 degrees in parts of the hill country. As usual, a little bit cooler in the upper 80s. So how's that for you? Not even a cloud in the sky out there right now. Well, I did see a couple, but not many. Okay, some high clouds were out there. There's a little disturbance rounding the ridge at this time. Big Blue H pretty much overhead. Little disturbance moving through Oklahoma. That's actually headed our way, but unfortunately, it's not going to have anything to work with once it makes it here. So we don't have a chance of rain anytime soon. I mean, within the foreseeable future, meteorologically speaking, not a shot at any rainfall. Upper level high, the Big Blue H, it just dominates the weekend on into next week. Quiet this evening, beautiful tomorrow. Another good morning to have the coffee outdoors. Fire up the pit, right, with that hot cup of coffee. Perfect morning for it. 86 at noon, 93 in the afternoon. Nothing but sunshine again. Then we get into Sunday on our Flag Day, and it's basically just a repeat performance. Low humidity and wall-to-wall sunshine. Temperatures very similar. Here's one change into next week. Monday morning, Early risers will notice a hint of humidity in the air. Not a lot of it, but you'll notice a hint of humidity in the air. And I think the mornings for next week will be a little bit muggy, but then that mugginess will mix out as we get into the midday and afternoon hours next week. And unfortunately, we're looking at a 0% chance of rain. So it's a good thing we had all that moisture in May and into early June.
Weekend looking good. Thanks, Adam.
All right, this was much more than just a haircut for this Spur.
Yeah, we're talking about Lonnie Walker IV, and his revelation is nothing other than courageous of what he's been able to do. When we come back, more about what Lonnie Walker's haircut actually truly meant. He will share that with us, and looks like Myles Garrett is in line for a mega deal. Coming up. Spurs guard Lonnie Walker IV with a courageous revelation about why he actually cut his hair. In his post on Instagram, the second-year Spurs guard revealed he's been growing his hair out since he was in the 5th grade to act as a cloaking device because he'd been sexually harassed, raped, and abused. He said he used his hair as the only thing he could control in his life that gave him confidence. Now Lonnie tells us he has found peace, eternal happiness. Time doesn't wait on anyone, so why should I waste my time on it? Admitting his hair was a mask, but now that he is better than ever, during the coronavirus, it gave him a chance to truly look at myself in the mirror and see who I truly was.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell announcing today that the league will now recognize Juneteenth as a company holiday. The memo sent to all 32 teams, Goodell said, is a day to reflect on our past. More importantly, considered how each one of us can continue to show up and band together to work toward a better future. June 19th is celebrated as the effective end of slavery in the United States, although the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect January 1st, 1863. But it wasn't until June 19th of 1865, after the conclusion of the Civil War, the last of the freed slaves, were read President Abraham Lincoln's decree in Texas. Don't forget to join us this Sunday night on Instant Replay on our story on the Urban Soccer Leadership Academy, an organization formed by former Mayor Ed Garza to help at the at-risk youth through their passion for soccer, but more importantly, not only get them to graduate from high school, but using their skills to get a college education. He's done it through donations and nonprofits, and this year, every single member of the Jefferson soccer team and the senior class is going to college one way or another. And it doesn't stop there. Through club soccer, this program is helping thousands of young men and women in our city.
We wanted to create an organization that was fun, that attracted kids into the organization for what they were passionate about. And while we had their attention, start talking about what is your why, what is your vision and purpose in life, and make that connection to college and beyond.
That's all coming up on Instant Replay this Sunday night, right after the night beat. Now, regarding Myles Garrett here, the former Aggie, he's due to make a mega million contract here. He already is in the he has 2 years left on his rookie contract. They've already exercised a 5th-year option, but by doing so, they're negotiating a deal that'll put him in that range of Khalil Mack of Chicago, at $23.5 million. Of course, DeMarcus Lawrence of the Cowboys at $21 million a season, so that's underway. And we're just getting word the University of Houston suspended all of their student activities after 6 student athletes tested positive for coronavirus.
Yeah, the spike we're seeing in the state.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Greg.
We'll be right back.
Tomorrow morning, look at that. Have the coffee outdoors. Just take it in. It's going to be nice. Temperatures mostly in the mid-60s to start the day. Then we'll make it into the lower 90s by the afternoon, but upper 80s as you get into the hill country.
All right, thanks, Adam. And thanks for watching the news at 5.
World News up next. See you back here at 6.